This episode offers psychosocial education designed to inspire and motivate our listeners. The information provided does not constitute a therapeutic relationship nor a substitute for professional mental health care. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, call 911, go to your nearest emergency room, or for listeners in the United States, text 988 for the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Warning, this episode contains brain food that will lead to improved emotional and social intelligence. Thanks for tuning in to Harvesting Happiness today for a healthy serving of consciously prepared brain food. This is Lisa Cypers Kamen, your host. Since 2010, we've been broadcasting sound ideas for better well-being. Each week, we spotlight diverse thinkers and doers who are contemporary trendsetters and change agents, devoting their lives to creating a better world. I invite you to listen and change how you think about human happiness. Our award-winning content is fresh, optimistic, and purpose-driven media that promotes well-being from the inside out. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me on today's show, where we are talking about brain-boosting happiness, chemistry, technology, and well-being. My guest today is T.J. Power, a leading neuroscientist and Sunday Times best-selling author who is revolutionizing our understanding of brain chemistry in the digital age. As the founder of the Dose Lab, and that's DOSE, he explores the relationship between social media-driven lifestyles and key neurotransmitters, those being dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. All those goodies for which we all live, I think, TJ.
Definitely.
TJ, right? TJ has the ability to demystify complex neuroscience concepts and provide actionable strategies that has established him as an international respected authority on unlocking human potential in our technology-driven world. His work offers fresh perspectives on managing mental health, improving focus, and fostering meaningful relationships in this digital era. His book is entitled The Dose Effect: Small Habits to Boost Your Brain Chemistry. Well, that was a long but good-winded way to introduce you to the show. Hi, TJ. Let's just jump right in here because we are full of chemicals and full of a bit of angstiness these days. So I'd love for you to jump in and tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, I mean, that word, that does describe the kind of state we're in. We're in a very dopamine desiring state as a species, where we're kind of always looking for our next bit of stimulation, whether that's from coffee or our phone or sugar. And our lives have become effectively revolved around this experience of how can I make my brain have these peaks of how I feel. And from a brain chemistry point of view, that's not ideal in terms of making sure our mind feels stable and calm and present and motivated consistently and so on. And I'm just in that world of trying to demystify the understanding of these chemicals so that we can hopefully use that information to thrive.
Well, we are like dopamine-seeking missiles, human beings, right? Like that we just want it all the time. And talk to us a little bit about what happens when we are in that high peak dopamine state for extended periods of time, because it does some things to us that we might not be aware of.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We work with a lot of young people in schools, and we're trying to help them really understand dopamine and understand what maybe YouTube shorts or these quick videos or sugar might be doing to their dopamine levels. And we built this new concept to help them understand it. We've actually realized this is extremely useful for adults as well. And I just want to explain a little bit about what this dopamine seeking missile type lifestyle is doing in our brain. So you have this area of your brain called the ventral tegmental area. And this is effectively your dopamine factory. It's like a little ball in the center of your brain, and it's your factory for building what we call dopamine vesicles. And they're effectively little dopamine bubbles. So you've got a factory, and it can sit there and it can make dopamine bubbles. You've then got this area of the brain called your nucleus accumbens, which is your reward center. And whenever you're doing something that's pleasurable, your brain has the capacity to ship dopamine bubbles from the factory to the reward center in order to make you feel good. If you take something like cleaning your house, like an effortful action, like cleaning your house, it doesn't immediately make you feel amazing when you clean your house, but you'll notice gradually you experience more and more satisfaction from that task. And biochemically in your brain, what's occurring there is your brain is building these bubbles in the factory, and then it's shipping a few of these towards the reward center and creating a nice positive feeling. In our dopamine-seeking modern world, when we say, for example, scroll short videos on our phone, those are very stimulating for the dopamine. What happens is your brain suddenly mass ships tons of these bubbles towards the reward center in a very quick way. And that can feel great during the scroll. But when you look back at the dopamine factory, it's then very low in this key resource. And when these bubbles get low in the dopamine factory, we can feel demotivated. Our mood is much worse. We're much more irritable. We can't focus. And that's a state that many of us are in this dopamine seeking life.
And when we are in that state, we're trying to rebuild the trough, right? We're trying to get more in, which may drive us to more compulsive behaviors, to get more faster.
Yeah, effectively, because the lower the factory gets in bubbles, the worse you feel. And then the more you then seek for a quick win from like, okay, I'll just scroll my phone for a bit because that'll make me feel good, or I'll eat some chocolate or whatever. But then the challenging component is then it just gets even lower, and you use up more and more of this resource. And that's why when you are very frequently engaging in these addictive behaviors, you develop more and more of these addictions because your brain is constantly trying to fight its way back out of that state. And it is like a never-ending cycle where it can't get out of it. And the only way out is to naturally rebuild the bubbles in the factory with some of the actions we can discuss.
Oh, I could go down a whole rabbit hole about this, but I won't because we have limited time, which means you'll come back.
It might be good to stay fairly on topic, though, of whatever you find most interesting. So feel free.
Because I work in the addiction field, and I often find that clients that I work with, they're polysubstance abusers, right? That it's not just one thing. And it's not just one thing for non-addicted folks. Like, we get these dopamine spikes from so many places, whether it's the Amazon quick purchase, watching the little video, buying a pair of shoes. Like, we go to across a platform for a plethora of things to give us this spike without even realizing that that's what we're seeking. And thus it becomes a bit mindless.
100%. And I come at all of this stuff as someone that's that was awesome. And I think it's important to know I'm not just some like healthy neuroscientist that thinks everyone should be perfect. I spent like a decade deep in the world of addiction with phones and social media and alcohol and porn and cigarettes and everything. Like, I was hooked on that dopamine seeking life and then tried to use dose to try and get me out of it.
And let me ask you a question about the brain's agnostic ability. Like, the brain doesn't necessarily recognize which substance, right? It's not discerning which substance or activity is bringing that dopamine spike. It just wants the spike from wherever it can get it.
100%. And then it just comes down to individual difference. Like, some people might get a lot of dopamine from smoking a cigarette. For others, cigarettes might be horrible. So like, but regardless, if it's a quick dopamine behavior, in an fMRI scanner scanning the brain, you wouldn't be able to tell whether someone was watching porn or drinking alcohol. Like, it'd be a very similar experience taking place in the brain.
It's funny you should mention that. Helen Fisher, who is one of the great social scientists, anthropologists, she had a really fabulous TED Talk where she talked about like being in love, your brain being in love and your brain being on cocaine and not being able to tell the difference.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's effectively fake love.
Yeah, exactly. So dopamine. Moving on, let's talk about oxytocin, because that's pretty delicious too.
Yeah, oxytocin is delicious, to use your words. Like, it's this beautiful chemical that enables us to feel deep connection with human beings. And that's so at the core of what we want as a species. And the technological world is really disrupting our quality of connection, whether that's as simple as sitting in bed with your partner and both scrolling your phones instead of cuddling and talking. That's choosing dopamine over oxytocin. That could be interrelationships with your kids, your family members, your colleagues. Technology is disrupting our capacity to build deep, lasting bonds.
And the oxytocin release, it comes from many different places, but highly important is touch. The physical touch.
Sure. Our first deep experience of oxytocin when we're born is the breastfeeding and the cuddling from our mum. Like, that's right at the core of our biological programming. It's like, okay, touch creates love and their oxytocin rises. And we as a species are significantly reducing how much touch we have, whether that's romantic touch or whether that's friendly touch. We don't hug each other as much. We don't cuddle partners as much. People have less sex in the modern world. And it's just really declining. COVID had a big impact on our capacity to just like hug people. It created like an awkwardness around that. And it can't be underestimated for our nervous system how important physical connection is with humans and also with pets. Pets can provide a similar benefit.
Talk a little bit about the hugging, because another thing I think that has also restricted our hugging besides COVID is perhaps workplace policies, right? Like that touch has become something that is shunned upon because everybody's worried about,
doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's of course tricky. Like, I wouldn't want someone to go like hug some colleague that doesn't want them to in their workplace.
But
like,
can I hug you?
Yeah. Can I hug you? And like, can you build friendships whereby the friendship evolves to a point where you would hug that person? That would be a good thing to aim towards. And when you are with human beings that you feel comfortable to hug, like a parent or a sibling or your partner, it's just about like high dosing it. So like if I see my mum, for example, I don't see my mum that regularly. If I see her, I'll hug her for like 10 seconds. Like I'll stand in that hug and really hug her. And then I know that we're both getting a ton of oxytocin. And then it's just like a beautiful experience. And it's about just like those that you can hug, you hug them for longer, basically.
Let's talk about that 10-second hug and what happens when that oxytocin like lets down, because it is palatable. Like you can feel it in your body, whether it's the exhale or sort of the settling in there. We see it in animals when they like circle and, try and nest next to us and then they shudder when they exhale. I believe that's kind of what we're talking about.
For sure. And we're in the modern world as humans very sympathetically active in terms of our nervous system. Like we are very heightened and stressed as a species.
It's an understatement.
You can just feel it in your body. There's so much stressing us out. And when you hug a human being, your body has this massive rise in this cortisol chemical, which leads to a massive rise in your oxytocin chemical, which leads to a massive decline in cortisol, your stress hormone. So love is coming into your body and stress and cortisol is reducing. And we desperately need more calm in our bodies. Like at the end of the day, for example, there's this big topic called revenge bedtime procrastination. And revenge bedtime procrastination is when we lie in bed because we've had a busy day and we feel like we deserve some me time. So we stay awake really late scrolling our phones as a way to kind of pleasure ourselves for the effort that we've done throughout the day. And I posted this on my Instagram story yesterday and it's gone wild. It had like 5,000 replies on a story. And it's really common to do that. And what we're wanting is me time. We want peace and calm. But now me time has become dopamine in the phone time. And what your body desperately wants is if you're alone, like a warm bath and a calming experience like that, or it would want just like cuddling and connection with a human being. That's proper calm your body down time. And we're just living in this dopamine land where oxytocin is getting deprioritized.
Ooh, sounds so stressful.
But there is an answer. Like you can connect with humans and you can put your phone down more.
Oh, yeah. But it means putting oneself in time out, like putting the governor on our own regulation, which is part of the challenge, I think, right?
It is. And breaking the phone addiction is really hard. Like I really went on a big journey to try and separate from that phone. It's been a tricky path.
Put the dang thing away, you can commit to it only for a few minutes at a time to start, right?
For sure.
It's a practice.
It's a progressive journey, and the most important battle to learn to win with the phone is when you wake in the morning. Everything changes in our research at the lab when people stop going on it as soon as they wake and they develop that level of control over, okay, I've woken, I'm completely desperate for my phone because we wake up desperate for it, but I'm going to go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, maybe have a shower if you normally shower in the morning. And I'm going to do something that's just me and I'm going to beat the addiction. And then that translates to a better relationship with the phone throughout the rest of the day.
So it's the delaying of gratification in essence, right? It's 100%. which strengthens the distress response as well.
It does. And this is why I think addiction as a whole in the world is actually getting more severe because the phone is priming us for addiction from the moment we wake. Whereas the vast majority of even like when you're in severe alcoholism, you probably didn't drink an alcoholic drink within 60 seconds of waking. Like you might have waited till the mid-morning if you were deep in alcoholism, maybe the afternoon. But never before have we had something where we engage with it as soon as our eyes open, and then it primes our brain straight for quick dopamine. And then that has a cascade effect on sugar, alcohol, and so on.
This is a very excellent point. And I'm just thinking of my own behavior every morning. And it is, I do pee before I use the phone. I will say
Well
that.
done, that's good.
So that's good. I'm gonna lengthen that practice based on this conversation.
Cool.
Let's move on. We're going to take a break, but before we do, let's go to serotonin, because this is something else that we love.
Yeah, serotonin is beautiful. It's this chemical that calms us, lifts our mood, energizes our body, and it's one we sadly are quite low in the modern world, because it's a chemical that wants us to be like our ancestors 100,000 years ago, running around in a forest in the sunlight, eating natural foods and fruits and vegetables and meats, and sleeping lots and resting lots. And now we're sort of indoors a lot of the time, not sunlight, not sleeping as much, not eating as well. And the big thing with serotonin to understand is 90% of it is being built within your body, specifically within your gut. And it's a chemical that deeply wants your gut to be flourishing.
Ooh, this is a very good point, which we're not going to get to in this half, but we'll come back to. Before we go to the break, let's just go one more. We'll go to the E in dose, and that is endorphins. This is one of my favorites, personally.
Endorphins have this fantastic ability to really quickly de-stress our thought process. They also help us cope with things like physical pain, and they're very interconnected with physical movement. And it's really important that we learn to associate physical action with physically releasing stress from our brain and body more often.
And we get it from exercise?
We do get it from exercise, but other ways as well. Things like hot environments, like saunas and baths, are really good for endorphins. Singing songs. Sex would be great for the endorphins, especially if you really went for it and had a good time. And instead of like some like boring, lazy sex. And
no starfishing sex. We're talking about active sex.
Proper sex. And what else is good? Yeah, singing, dancing is great. Laughing is great. Anything that like physically lets your body like use itself effectively.
Let me ask you one more thing. And now I promise we're going to take that break. When we have that endorphin release, the mind is usually only present on what it has just experienced too, right? Like there's no past or future. It's just here and now.
We're predominantly moving our like energetic awareness into the body during endorphin experiences. Like, when you're like really dancing and singing to songs, like you're just like a whole human at that point. You're not just like a thinking brain. And the same if you're really laughing, you can just like feel it all over you. And we're not spending enough time in that endorphins type state at all.
Let's take a pause and come back for more of the dose. To learn more about TJ Power and his work, please go to X. He's at TJ Power, on Instagram as well, Facebook, TJ Powerhouse Media. On LinkedIn, you can find him at TJ Power Neuroscience. And thedoselab.com, we're talking about TJ's book, The Dose Effect, Small Habits to Boost Your Brain Chemistry. Here comes that pause. We'll be right back, and that is a promise. Wait. Before we take that pause, I want to talk about the importance of solid restorative sleep, because real happiness starts with real rest. A solid night's sleep fuels our mood, sharpens our minds, and helps us to wake up feeling genuinely refreshed and better able to handle life's ups and downs. One way to improve sleep quality is to improve the environment you sleep in. Your bed should be a luxurious and inviting haven that surrounds you with soft textures and temperature control, regardless of whether you sleep hot or cold. Buffy's sheets are designed to provide a deeper, uninterrupted sleep. Their mission is to make your bed feel like a spa treatment every night. Thanks to Buffy's specialized temperature-adapting properties, I am happy to report that my menopause-induced night sweats are better managed. Buffy is microscopically crafted for unmatched smoothness, creating a sleep climate that balances the amount of moisture under the covers. This bedding helps protect delicate skin from irritation for a luxurious, skin-friendly sleep experience. Buffy is committed to making chemical-free, non-toxic products that are as kind to the earth as they are to your skin. Buffy is high-quality designer bedding that is beautiful, comfortable, and affordable. I'm a huge fan of their crisp white linen sheets, but you can find several color choices at buffy.co. With a continuous commitment to quality, every Buffy item comes with a complimentary 3-year warranty. Most brands stop at 1, while Buffy protects you against rips, stains, or defects for 3 full years. No questions asked. All this care hasn't gone unnoticed. Buffy is the most awarded bedding brand out there, with hundreds of awards to their name, including from Architectural Digest, Consumer Reports, and House Beautiful. Join me and millions of satisfied sleepers who snooze in luxurious comfort with Buffy. Get 20% off your first Buffy order using code HHTR at buffy.co. That's 20% off when you use code HHTR at buffy.co. Buffy.co, code HHTR. Now let's take that pause. We'll be right back, and that's a promise. Harvesting Happiness is rooted in science. Our work facilitates applied positive psychology practices through media and consulting. We're committed to sound ideas for better well-being, leading to increased life satisfaction and a better world for everyone. We're not into pseudoscience or quick fixes. We're focused on common sense backed by rigorous research. Healthy critical thinking is the foundation for our discussions. We encourage you to challenge preconceptions and explore ideas with a curiously discerning mind. Collaboration with our guests is united by an inclusive vision to boost resilience, critical thinking, communication, and problem solving through civilized discourse and pleasurable relational engagement for everyone. Each day, we have the intellectual freedom to be happy or the liberty to be miserable, regardless of external circumstances. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please seek support because good psychological health is vital to the achievement of a healthy and satisfying life. Visit harvestinghappiness.com for psychosocial and educational services that boost emotional and social intelligence. And we're back. But before we get back to it, I want to talk about the power of a perfected nest. I started my professional life in architecture and design. Living in an aesthetic environment matters to me a lot. Beautiful spaces make me happy, and that's why I'm a loyal fan and customer of Quince Home Goods. I am super excited that Quince has branched out from apparel to home decor. Find everything you need to upgrade your home. With elevated design and affordability, you can get towels, cookware, cutlery, kitchen tools, curtains, furniture, rugs, and so much more. The best part, like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. With the world feeling chaotic lately, I've been focused on creating calm at home, and Quince makes that easy. Simple decor brings a sense of peace and balance to my house, all without overspending. My favorite recent purchases are the beaded Jupiter drinking glasses by Fortessa and the essential Japanese Damascus steel steak knife set. These items have elevated my dining table design and made my guests gleeful to drink from attractive tumblers and cut their food with designer sharp steak knives that can actually cut. Not only does Quince deliver on style, quality, and price, Quince smokes other high-end home brands without breaking the bank. Refresh your space with elevated home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/HHTR for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/HHTR to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/HHTR. Now let's get back to it. And we're back, continuing the conversation with neuroscientist TJ Power. We're talking about brain-boosting happiness, chemistry, technology, and our well-being. Okay, TJ, we talked about the dose, which is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Let's talk a little bit about the lab that you're running and all of your participants, what you've learned. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, we're very deeply trying to understand how each of the different human behaviors that we engage with could impact brain chemistry. That's our goal. So it's like, how does every aspect of the human experience, whether it's nature, movement, sunlight, flow state when you're deep in concentration in a task, how do all these things impact brain chemistry? The current study we're running is looking very deeply into dopamine and screen time specifically, because I really believe like screen time is probably the greatest challenge our world is facing from a brain chemistry point of view. And we're using something called the behavioral activation scale, which basically is a scale that is considered the most reliable and valid measure of immediate dopamine levels. And it will give you a really good indication as to how much will somebody has to do the things that they know they need to do. And that's actually a really good metric of whether your dopamine is high or low. Like sometimes you think, oh yeah, I need to exercise today, or I need to work hard today, or I need to clean my house today. And there are days where that can easily be done and you're like, oh yeah, I'm flying through it. And there are days where that's definitely the opposite of the case. And we're really trying to see if things like screen time and quantity of time spent on the phone is impacting someone's will to do the hard activities in life.
And what is it about the screen time? Is it the light? Is it the movement of copy on the screen? What is it that's actually causing this activation?
Yeah, the most significant component is the fast varying reward of content. If, for example, you were to put a 30-minute podcast on YouTube and you put it on and you sat there and you watched it, that wouldn't actually be that overstimulating for the dopamine system because there's not that much novelty and change. Where things get challenging is like these, particularly the short video feeds, and then how we're on the short video feeds and then we're messaging and then we're back. And it's this back and forth massive novelty seeking that creates the dopamine rise. And dopamine for our ancestors was this chemical that did rise significantly when something novel happened. So say, for example, I was walking through the forest, and I always refer to our ancestors just because we spent 300,000 years running around like that. So the brain chemicals are really designed for them, not us. And if I was walking through and I got this little glimpse of like honey on a tree, that novelty would create a spike in dopamine of like, oh, there's some honey over there. And then my brain would have a dopamine rise, which would motivate me towards the honey in order to get the food. The challenge is now we can have novelty every 2 seconds on a feed, like change. So my brain keeps going, oh my God, honey. Oh my God, more honey. And then the dopamine goes higher. And then it crashes. And that's where it's tricky.
Oof. Food for thought. Let's talk a little bit about the antidote, because you keep mentioning nature, getting outside. And I think this plays a big part in that disconnection that you mentioned, right? That instead of being out in the world as we were in our ancestral state, that we're kind of like caged animals right now.
Definitely. And I grew up as someone in a town environment where I didn't spend a huge amount of time in nature. And then I started looking into this research about 10 or 12 years ago and really discovered that nature has a monumental impact on a lot of this brain chemical rebalancing type stuff. And in a similar way to what we discussed with the hug, how settling a hug is for our nervous system, nature is effectively hugging our brain and body when we're in it. Like you see fascinating research by this chap called Keeling, who's a Japanese scientist who's looked into this concept of forest bathing, which has become quite famous now. And you basically see that the nervous system just deeply settles. Serum serotonin, this mood and energizing chemical, rises significantly in those environments. And my kind of underlying philosophy on this is that as humans are moving to this almost like robot level tech being, that this the journey we seem to be on over these next few decades, I just think it's very important that we don't forget 300,000 years of evolution and how we spent our time originally. And the vast majority of that, if not 100% of it, was spent in the forest, basically. So it's like a perfect antidote to the tech world.
Let's talk a little bit about, go back to gut health and serotonin levels, because I have not heard about this. And I think this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's fascinating that our gut has such an impact on how we feel in our mind, because sometimes we can almost think it's just something happening in our brain because like physically our thoughts feel like they're located in our head. And this chemical is largely the majority of what we would consider mental health would be serotonin. And yet it's actually the one that's in our body. So it's actually quite a confusing dynamic that we've decided to even call it mental health, to be honest. And our brain has this great system called the vagus nerve connecting our brain and body together so that they can communicate. And when the single ingredient, whole food, nutrient dense products enter our body, so single ingredient just meaning a banana or an egg or yogurt that's just only yogurt, or meat or fish or fruit or veg, whatever it might be. When these enter our body, they break down into these different amino acids that our body can then utilize to build this serotonin molecule, which is great. When the ultra processed foods come in, and for example, in the UK, 57% of the UK's diet is now ultra processed food.
Oof.
When these foods come into our body's like, what the hell is that? And like building serotonin is the least of its priorities. Like its priority moves to like, how the hell am I going to get that out of me? And this is really impacting how we feel.
So what you're saying is that the serotonin is in the body, but is it in the gut? It's built in the gut? Or clarify that, because I thought it was in the brain. It's, it helps us with mood regulation. But what you're saying is we're going back to gut health, and this being the second brain of the body and the requirement for this healthy environment in order to have positive, good mental health.
Definitely. And there is serotonin in the brain as well. About 10% of our serotonin as a whole is in our brain. So that's also very important. And that's also being impacted like things like sunlight and nature and sleep and so on. 90% of it being in the gut. And similar to how I described that dopamine factory before, like we effectively have a serotonin factory, and that factory lives within the body where all these molecules are utilizing the food that's coming in order to manufacture serotonin. And yeah, effectively, it's just struggling to manufacture itself in a gut that's full of toxicity and things like that, rather than all the nutrients it needs to flourish.
Wow. Are there any particular foods that are better at enhancing or rebuilding serotonin in the gut? We know processed foods are out, but and soul foods are good, singular foods. But are there any that are better than others?
I mean, on a scale, technically the highest producing one would be turkey. Turkey meat, for whatever reason, happens to be the highest tryptophan food. And I also think it's quite funny that that became the meat that gets eaten on Christmas Day, because from a brain chemistry point of view, it actually would create the most happiness in us, which almost just like a funny coincidence. Other than turkey, I would say eggs are really good. Fruit is really good, and nuts are really good. So eggs, fruit, nuts, they'd be great products.
So it's the tryptophan is what you're saying, is that, which is interesting because tryptophan is also known to help us relax and make us sleep. So
yeah, for sure.
That's
the
interesting.
reason it's having that effect is tryptophan is the precursor amino acid that helps to build serotonin. The reason it then impacts your sleep is serotonin itself is the precursor to melatonin, and melatonin is what puts us to rest at night. So when people associate tryptophan with rest, it's going through this pathway of tryptophan to serotonin to melatonin and then to rest. And these things are key.
Wow. So give us, just to recap, because we're nearly out of time, let's recap the dose, the four ingredients, and then give us some homework.
Yeah, definitely. So if I give you each of the chemicals, the function of each one, and then a simple challenge for each one, and then you could decide one of these four challenges, maybe you could take on all four if it feels possible. So dopamine is the motivational chemical. It creates the will to do hard things. The best thing you could possibly do for it is not go on your phone when you wake up tomorrow morning and try and start your day and gain momentum and get ready and then go on the phone. Oxytocin, beautiful connection, loving chemical. Best thing you could do for it is find someone that you could hug for 10 seconds tomorrow. Maybe that's a parent, friend, family member, kid, 10-second hug. Serotonin, the mood and energy chemical. The best thing you could do tomorrow is eat some really clean, single ingredient, natural foods. That could be some meat, that could be eggs, that could be fruit, that could be nuts. And then endorphins, this de-stressing chemical that really relieves ourselves from all this tension and anger and frustration we feel in our body. The best thing you could probably do would actually be to get in your car, put on your favorite song and sing your heart out as you're driving along. That would be a beautiful thing to do.
Love it. That is a daily dose. That's a daily dose of goodness and happiness and health.
100%. No phone when you wake, hug people, single ingredient foods, and sing in the car.
Easy peasy, actually. Right. And we're not talking about a lot of time devoted to this, really.
No, you don't. You don't have to like reorder your entire life. It's just like key decisions in certain moments could really help. And nothing really could be better than trying to reduce how much overstimulation from the phone, because the trouble is with the phone is it's depleting the dopamine so much that then the effort of cooking healthy food or connecting with people or exercise, then it all reduces. So the phone is the key first step.
Well, you know, what you just described, I see myself sometimes, you know, at the end of a long day, I have an idea I'm going to cook a really good meal because I do love to cook, but then it's like, okay, I want to have Chinese. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to sit and watch the screen and I want to pass out.
For sure. And it's like your dopamine is depleted at that point.
Gone. And I know better. So
for sure. I would sometimes say in those states as well, there'd just be nothing better than just leaving your tech at home, or if you need it from a safety point of view, like put your phone in a bag and just walk for like 15 or 20 minutes around your neighborhood or your block or something like that. And just let your brain like slowly de-stimulate from the tech, because it can almost feel uncomfortable when you've spent all day on tech and then you come off it. And it's good to be physically active during that sort of de-stimulation moment.
That's really good advice, because there does need to be a transition, like from when the day is done to literally power down.
Yeah, you need to like slowly cool off, because if you go straight from the desk to the sofa with the food, your brain's like never getting a reset.
Oh, will you come back? I feel like there's so much more that we can talk about and help educate people about their daily dose and how to get it and how to have fun with it and how to share it. This is good stuff.
Definitely. I'd love to. If you're
we're game. We're going to make it happen.
Stuff, if they say they like it, then yeah, let's do it.
We love it. TJ, thanks for hanging out with me, sharing part of your day. To learn more about TJ Power and his work and his book, The Dose Effect, Small Habits to Boost Your Brain Chemistry, on X, go to @TJ Power, the same on Instagram, on Facebook, TJ Powerhouse Media, on LinkedIn, TJ Power Neuroscience, and you can go to thedoselab.com. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Harvesting Happiness today. This is Lisa Cypers Kamen on behalf of my guest, TJ Power, wishing you kind thoughts, kinder words, and the kindest of actions. Until next time, remember, happiness is an inside job. Happiness is your inside job. Please go out and rock your day, and remember to be kind to one another. Want to explore more sound ideas for better well-being? Check out our new bonus edition content at More Mental Fitness by Harvesting Happiness on Substack and Medium. Subscribe, listen, and share hundreds of downloadable episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Connect with and follow us on most social media channels. To learn more about lifestyle management and mental fitness consulting services, please visit harvestinghappiness.com. Harvesting Happiness and More Mental Fitness are produced by Lisa Cypers Kamen, Andrea Mengele, Robin Boyd, Andrea Daly, and the excellent team at Podfly Productions, including Eric Begay, Kimberly Beck, and Alec Guess, in collaboration with TogiNet Radio, KBUU, RadioMalibu.net, and is available on PRX, the Public Radio Exchange.